Chapter 95. Nahan immediately woke the next person according to Yudhir's demand. However, the others could not answer the same question at all. The only thing Yudhir could not find out was the fact that the family had given more rewards than usual when they caught an awakener with a certain condition, and there was a box containing a small amount of correspondence they had exchanged with the family. They give rewards when you caught a certain awakener? Say it again. Yudhir asked the same question again to the last person Nahan had woken. The man who had gone mad after seeing the illusion shown by Nahan replied, laughing with his mouth wide open. Whether it's Alpha or Omega, that. Hehe, hehehe. Especially when we handed over those who were in heat. So they told us to leave them alone until they were in heat and then send them. The warden did. Hehe, hehe. His babbling seemed insane, but the information that could be understood from his answer was clear. The priests, who were said to be conducting research while staying in the Opezo family, were looking for awakened individuals who had manifested their second gender. Child and the second gender. For some reason, he had a bad feeling about it. Yudhir grabbed the collar of the man who was laughing madly and then shedding tears. Hey, there should be some remaining contracts here, right? Find them. After finding the remaining stack of contracts, Yudhir rose from his seat holding them. Make sure these bastards don't mess around until I return. Are you going to that guy in the prison? Nahan asked in a soft voice. All I have to do is make him write the contract. It doesn't seem like a great idea. Contracts are not absolute. That guy will someday repay today's mercy with enmity. Wouldn't it be easier just to kill him? That's not your concern. At Yudhir's words, Nahan chuckled lowly. His smile still bore the cold and brutal traces, giving Yudhir chills. Yes, it's none of my business. As Yudhir turned his body, Nahan's low voice echoed as if grabbing him from behind. But it was just advice from a brother. Keol squirmed in fright when he saw Yudhir's face splattered with fresh blood. Yudhir couldn't be bothered to explain that it wasn't his blood, but the blood spurting from the dead warden. So he thrust the contract he was holding in front of Keol's eyes. Quiet down and put your finger or something on this. Huh? Keol stopped, struggling, and looked at the contract. There were a few more sentences written in thin flame by Yudhir while he was coming. 1. Keol the Diarca shall not tell anyone about the event that had happened today. 2. Keol the Diarca cannot give unilateral commands, challenge to duels, or insult either Ale or any other person. 3. Keol the Diarca shall help Yudhir Ale within his capabilities. Both parties will leave a contract mark on these matters. If Keol the Diarca violates any of the above, the contract mark will signal and notify, and the violator will fall into eternal sleep immediately. What? What is this? As soon as Yudhir untied the ropes and the gag, Keol screamed. Eternal sleep? What does that mean? Does it mean you'll kill me or not? If you don't want to sign, then I'll leave immediately. Damn it, I'll do it. Keol, his hand marked by rope burns, held up his hand, closed his eyes tight, and pressed his finger down. The moment he did so, a black smoke burst from the contract, and in an instant, it had crept into the wrists of the two, leaving a mark behind. For your information, if you leave here and try to kill me, it will be useless. Because of the third clause, if you try to indirectly kill me, it would breach the contract. Perhaps he had thought of this before, for Keogh's eyes slightly trembling. So, what happens if you just happen to die in an accident? If I die due to reasons unrelated to you, the contract will lose its power. The mark of the contract on your wrist will disappear. That won't affect me, will it? Right, so get up now. Surely you aren't pretending you need someone to help you stand. At those words, Keough gritted his teeth and, with some difficulty, managed to push off the ground and stand up. So, where are we headed now? Have you seen my sword? Where did you leave your companions? Don't tell me you killed all the dogs of the Apetto family, or who on earth would believe that this noisy fool was a senior knight of the Imperial Knights? As Yudhir, who had been leading, turned his head to say something, he suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. Reactively, he gripped his sword and turned around. Yudhir found himself halted at the sight of Nahan, a boy standing behind him, and the mercenary awakeners with vacant expressions. Ah, you have already finished. That was quick. Where are the ones I told you to guard? Ah, that's the thing. There was an unfortunate accident. Nahan, his face spluttered with blood like Yudhir's, grinned quietly. I was just trying to keep them quiet for a bit, but they didn't seem to like that and ended up dying. What? Really sorry about that. From Nahan's calm expression, there was no signs of remorse typically associated with someone who had just caused an unfortunate accident. Nahan, who had come closer to Yudhir, held out a box that had been hanging on his waist. Here, I bought this, so take it. It was a box containing the letters through which the people of Apetto House there had communicated with their main house. Amid stifling tension, Yudhir slowly reached out and took it. At that moment, Keough, who had locked eyes with Nahan, froze like a herbivore in front of a predator. Let's free the brothers trapped in the prison now. Nahan, with his smooth demeanor, approached the prison and re-emerged, leaving the three mercenary awakeners whom Yudhir had imprisoned. He was unsure what ability Nahan had used, but they all had vacant expressions and were unusually docile. I can't see a trace of rationality in them. If he had such abilities, why didn't he use them before? Why did Nahan choose to act now, after watching so long? Were the members of Apetto family, whom he claimed died in an unfortunate accident, really just victims of an accident? Of course not. Yudhir's caution heightened a notch further than before. Sensing his guarded eyes, Nahan turned around and gave a faint smile. Facing his strange smile, one side horribly scarred and the other beautifully sculpted, Keough unwittingly took a step back, halting suddenly. Nahan, seemingly amused by his reaction, turned his head and opened his mouth towards Yudhir. Aren't you leaving? You go ahead. There was no good to be found in exposing his back in such a situation. At Yudhir's words, Nahan shrugged his shoulders and turned. As you wish, brother. The way out was eerily quiet. Yudhir didn't know what had become of Devron and the awakened escapees they had encountered along the way, but at least no one was springing out of nowhere. Even Keough, perhaps paralyzed by fear, had begun to quietly follow behind him. The only sounds echoing through the darkness that half shrouded them were the rhythmic footsteps as they trod the cave floor. Footsteps. Then suddenly halted and looked at his side. Huel's flashy, high-quality boots brushed past him. Catching sight of Kewell's face, eerily illuminated by the light streaming from the magic stones embedded in the wall, Yudir immediately grabbed Kewell's arm and started running forward. Damn, just as I thought. Despite Yudir's sudden grab and run, Kewell showed no reaction. His expression was vacant, just like the mercenary awakeners who had emerged from the prison and stood behind Nahan. There was no doubt that he had fallen prey to Nahan's illusion ability. He wasn't one to keep his mouth shut just because he was a bit scared. When had it started? Was it from the moment Kewell tried to step back when they crossed paths at the prison? Recalling as he ran, Yudir gradually slowed and stopped. You had me wondering where you were going, brother. Despite running a good distance, they found themselves once again before the vacant-faced mercenary awakeners, the young boy and Nahan. Nahan looked at Yudir, who had a composed expression, and opened his mouth. I'm not sure why you are so guarded, but I don't think there's a need for that now that everything's over. Wouldn't you be guarded in this situation? Yudir asked coldly, looking around. Have you killed all the Apeto people? Who are you going to kill next? Who the hell are you? You already know who I am. I find it hard to believe at this point. What certainty can there be against an illusionist who could suddenly twist the path ahead? To what extent was the Nahan that Yudir saw the real one? Was he truly just a somewhat cruel bandit leader who gathered wandering awakeners, reading the world of suspension in Yudir's eyes? Nahan chuckled. You're quite suspicious. Well, it's not so bad either, Nahan muttered and turned his gaze to Kewell's arm held by Yudir. I mean no harm to you, brother. Just let go of his arm, that's all. Was Kewell the target? In response, Yudir gripped Kewell's arm even tighter. Kewell the Diarca. No response came to the whispered name Kewell, with a vacant look like a puppet, merely swayed weakly as Yudir shook him. Kewell! Even a slap that echoed loudly against his cheek did nothing. With a sigh at Kewell's uselessness, Yudir looked back at Nahan. Don't tell me he stays like this forever unless you release him. Of course not. My ability isn't that powerful. But Nahan's eyes said he had no intention of revealing the condition. If he had been usual, Yudir would have used his power to get rid of Nahan right then and there. But now his throbbing hand was a distraction, and he couldn't immediately do so. Yudir held his silence for a moment, then opened his mouth.